Roadmaps.sh on GitHub, they have just released a roadmap for Terraform.
It says it's the 6th most starred repo on GitHub.
I got a comment on one of our videos. Lol, he pronounced NixOS as NixOS.
Hi, I have a question. I'm currently trying to do some backups for my S3 bucket data. I'm trying to find the best possible way to do it without spending so much money.
Roadmaps.sh on GitHub, they have just released a roadmap for Terraform. Might be interesting for any newcomers at your company looking to get a grip on Terraform to check it out. What they do at Roadmaps is they put together knowledge maps, kind of like a mind map almost of all the different concepts and how they relate to each other. And by clicking on any one of the nodes, you can dig into it and understand it. It's a pretty effective learning device, I think, for breaking down an advanced concept in a visual way.
It says it's the 6th most starred repo on GitHub.
280,000 stars. I don't know if I've seen a repository with that many stars on it.
There are apparently 5 that have more.
There are 5 that have more. You're a smart one, aren't you?
That's why I got into computer science. I'm really good at the maths.
Yeah, no, that's why you work at Cloud Posse. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I had a comment on one of our videos that we posted on YouTube is lol, he pronounced NixOS as NixOS. I catch myself now all the time. I love pronunciating acronyms because they just seem more relatable, like kubectl. I never call it that. Kubectl, man. PCR has always been poker for me. Anyone else do that? I don't say it always like macOS. I don't say macOS. I do say macOS on that one, but NixOS just sounds better.
Hi, I have a question. I'm currently trying to do some backups for my S3 bucket data. I'm trying to find the best possible way to do it without spending so much money. Because I have so much files, I have things like Parquet files being stored in my S3 bucket. Sometimes they are a lot and I want to empty that S3 bucket and it takes so long for me to empty it, about 2 terabytes of data. So I try to set the bucket to have like an extra rule, a non-concurrency rule that after one day just delete data that have gone into the non-concurrency. I want to be able to store the data that I have in my S3 after deleting my Kubernetes cluster, but I don't want to spend money while storing it in S3 buckets. And I don't also want to move it to Glacier because I would have to still spend money to retrieve it. So my question is there another way I could actually store S3 data in the format they are in so I could recover it later? Don't know if my question makes any sense.
My only question back to you would be, where would you want to store it? Do you mean like locally?
I don't want.
You basically you said you didn't want to store it in S3 and you don't want to store it in Glacier. So where would it, like, where would the ideal place be to store it for you?
So I was trying to use Glacier at first, but it was going to cost me a lot of money to do that, to retrieve it because of the amount of data. Then I was trying to also use AWS backup.
What about reduced redundancy? That was designed to be a more affordable option, less copies, and therefore they pass that savings along to you.
Was that in S3 bucket too?
Yeah, S3 has a million features since it's been around for so long, and one of those is recently announced the AWS S3 reduced redundancy storage, which is the most economical option that they have. It's still highly available and reliable. It's just that it's not replicated, I believe, across like multiple regions or something.
Well, would I have to pay money to retrieve the data like Glacier?
So Glacier is different. Glacier is like saying, I am unsure that I will never need to access this data again. I want the option to access it in the future. I don't want to pay a lot of money to store it, but if I change my mind and I need the data, okay, I'm going to have to pay up and retrieve it, and that's going to be expensive. If you're using that as a pattern, I don't believe that's the intent of Glacier. Glacier is like Iron Mountain, where you want to store a copy of your data in the event of a nuclear disaster and be able to recover it. You're not planning on having nuclear disasters on a weekly or monthly basis. It's like a one-time thing and you're willing to pony up and pay it to pull it out when you need it. And Glacier is a little bit is that it's long-term storage for things that you're seldomly going to need to access, and you'll pay a little bit more for it when you might have to retrieve it, but you pay very little for it, I believe, in cold storage. The other option is other clouds to be competitive with AWS are luring customers by offering cheaper S3 alternatives, often with more modern features. R3 being Cloudflare's option. I don't know the math myself, but I hear that they're less expensive.
They are, except that they get you on the egress out of AWS if it's not a one-time migration scenario. If you're running all your compute in AWS to do the data analysis and all that other stuff that we're talking about, that's not going to be cheaper, definitely.
Which brings up the next point. Make sure that you have the S3 VPC endpoints configured so that you're not paying the transfer costs.
Not gateway costs, yeah.
Do you have that set up or?
No, I don't think so. I should actually look into that because I have a couple of customer data, mainly POC data and all of that. And I don't want to mess up with my Parquet files configuration. But thank you. I'm going to look at this Amazon S3 reduced redundancy too.